2. Usage. Hey.
没什么问题，
你有吃到？
就解不了，不是 Q 的，
哦，不是这种一块比较滑一点，
它里
它是
面有点像豆渣，
粉粒结合在一起
不知道。为什么这样。硬搅拌，
什么意思啊？
要用豆浆，因为豆浆它在里面煮，有可能煮了那个豆浆被煮熟了，
那这边不是也是煮豆浆？
它生的豆水，生豆水打出来再煮，但是边煮边打碎。
边煮边打碎？
对。
那你说的意思，另外一个是什么？
另外一个是打碎，
打碎完了，
你就那个打碎又出来的汁，
啊，不是一样吗？
它比较好清洗。
哎，小飞啊！
Oh my! Right, hello? Hello? Can everybody hear me?
What's the camera?
Right, yeah, please have yourself muted for during the meeting. So this is Evan. It's 9:04 already. Let's wait for let's give people another minute, then we start at 9:05, right? But please have yourself muted. When we are reading, if you have any questions in particular you want to talk about tonight, please post it in chat right now. Okay, let's begin the webinar tonight. Whoops. So this is Evan. Another teacher, Matthew, is not available tonight, so I will be with you guys tonight, right? So so tonight's webinar we're going to have it in English only. 今天的讲座我们是主要是以那个英语来进行。如果有家长真的需要我们那个中文翻译或者讨论一下的，我们也可以。然后过程当中希望大家如果有什么问题，可以把它放到那个 chat 那里。我们如果那个问题是跟我们的内容有关的话，我们也可以讨论一下。All right, so let's begin. So this is Evan. I see some familiar names. So we have been having a webinar almost every other month. And so before we begin, right, can I ask, please type 1 if you are a student and type 2 if you are a parent in the chat. Okay, so mostly student, good. And then if you're a student, right, can you type your grade level right now? If we have more senior, then we can talk more stuff about like course application. If we are with more, okay, so 9, 10, 11. Okay, surprisingly, only one senior. Okay, thank you. So mostly 9, 10, and 11. Okay, so the agenda. Oh, little background about myself. I am a high school math teacher and also a counselor, and I have been coaching students for high school activity and academic interest, and also course application for so many years. And we are the Ivy Review. This is my email. If you guys have any questions about like course applications or maybe high school planning, like you can just email me. Okay, so the agenda for today. So first of all, we're going to talk about some common misconception about course application. And then we will talk about like what you know about the coursework, like the courses you take in high school. How does it matter for the course application? And then we move on to standardized testing and also the extracurricular activities. So first of all, does anybody want to share anything about like some? Do anybody know any common like misconception about the course application? Feel free to participate. Just like our webinar is very casual. So if you have any question you want to answer, you can just jump in. Now, how much we know about the course application? Let's say in that way. Yeah, the meeting will be recorded, right? We're going to post it in our WeChat group. And technically we'll post it in our YouTube channel, technically. Okay, so first of all, we have some freshmen here. So the first misconception that people ask a lot is, or parents think is true, is the course planning start in 11th grade, right? Typically, okay, let me mute. Right. So first of all, and some parents or some students even think that the course application start at 12th grade, right? Right now, and that would be too late actually. Okay, so the course application planning actually start at 9th grade, right? And then the application process start at 12th grade, like technically the summer of 11th grade, but the planning should start as early as 9th grade. Why? And we're going to get to why in a minute. Okay, and then some parents expect like the school counselor will tell the student like what to do during the whole application process, which is if your kids, if you are in private school, probably this is kind of true because private school, usually one counselor take care of like maybe a handful of students. But if you're in private school, one counselor usually take care of more than 100 students. The counselor will usually only tell you like what you need to do, but they don't have time to follow up like what you need to do. Okay, so if you are a senior already, make sure you keep tracking of your application process. Last year we have a student. She thought everything was submitted. The counselor helped her to submit all the transcript, all the stuff, and then wait until like January, he found out that the counselor forgot to submit her transcript to college, and that was a huge mistake. Okay, so if you are in 12th grade right now and you're applying for school, you need to make sure you check all the documents. Okay. And then another misconception we have a lot is, especially for Chinese parents, they think that the school, especially the Ivy school, they look for well-rounded student, which is maybe 20 years ago, this is true, but right now, the answer is no. So well-rounded, first of all, what does it mean to be well-rounded? Anybody want to answer that? What does it mean to be well-rounded? Well-rounded refer to a student that like is good at all the subject and they have lots of different activity like play musical instrument, join a sport team, get all A's, and then say perfect student. Okay, that's usually what we describe well-rounded students. So usually college right now they're looking for well-rounded class, which means for example, when they admit 100 students, they expect like some students good at sport, some students good at music, some student is a scientist, some student want to be a politician. Okay, that's for them to be well-rounded. You can be, but it doesn't mean you cannot be well-rounded. Okay, you can be well-rounded, all right, but you have to have some something that you stand out. Okay, it's let's say lots of the time when we see in the transcript or in the activity list, we see students have like more than 10 activity, join all different types of competition like AMC, Science Olympiad, debate, and all the stuff, right? We don't really see what the student want to be. We don't see the passion, okay? So keep this word in your mind for tonight, academic interest or academic passion. So the school want to see the students' academic interest and also the passion, like when what he want to do, right? What he like and spend time on doing that. So this also answered the next misconception question we have, like, and all A students or 1,600 SAT or 36 ACT will get you into the top school. We're going to show you a chart about what school is actually looking for, but all A is GPA, right? Your transcript is one of the most important factor will affect you to go to Ivy school, but it's not like the most I will not say that is the most important one, right? And especially now for the SAT, ACT, for standardized testing, because of COVID, the policies are changing. So it becomes less and less important for some school, but it doesn't mean you don't need to take it anymore, okay? Or it doesn't mean you should spend all your time on studying for the SAT and try to get a 1600. 1600 or 36 in the ACT, it will make you stand out, okay? But it will not guarantee you to get into the top school. So when we talk about like how we should spend the time, okay? Usually we don't suggest them to spend like most of the time on the SAT and the ACT preparation. All right, the next one. But it doesn't mean that we need to have like a long list of extracurricular activity, right? A very impressive list of extracurricular activity or volunteer service to make you into the school. So when at the time when you fill out the college application, you need to list 10 activity. I mean, you have 10 spots to list the 10 activity you do in high school. Okay. But you don't have to like spend all 4 years working on like the same like lots of activity. You need 10 only, right? So usually we say in 9th grade you can try different club, different activity, but in 10th grade you want to narrow down a little bit, right? Cut down the list maybe in half. And then in 11th grade and 12th grade, you want to focus on something you really enjoy doing, okay? So we're going to have a session talk about activity. We'll get there in a couple of minutes. Now, I know if I have most of the students here, I bet most of you, I would say all of you will at least play one musical instrument or at least play one sport, right? Tell me I'm right. So those are very impressive extracurricular activity, but playing a musical instrument or joining a sport, it's very hard to use this to get into the top school, right? If for sport, probably you want to be in, you need to compete in the national level competition, and you get some award for that, right? Something for the music. It's something good to have, okay? I also talk, when we talk about activity, I'm going to also talk about how can we use the music instrument we play or the sport we join to relate it to classification. How can we use that? Now, for summer program, lots of our parents, they pay lots of money for the kids to join like some summer program. We even have parents pay like more than $10,000 for one summer for the send a kid to another country to help the poor kids, like in Africa. We this is some cases like that. Okay, so some top summer program we actually can boost your application, right? Like ISI, the MIT RISE program, the Boston research program. Usually, the program that help that let you do some research, like with some faculty, those programs are very good. Those can technically give you some extra points for the application. But if you pay some like very fancy summer program to just have some course like life experience, those programs are not that helpful. But we do suggest like ninth grader to try that, right? Because they do want to see, let's say they have a school they're very interested in, they can spend like a summer over there and see if they like the school. But in regular summer program, if the program is very competitive, right? Like because a good summer program is something like applying for college. You need to fill in the application, you need to submit essay, you need to submit your SAT, ACT score, you need to have recommendation letters, okay? And then those competitive programs can give you some extra points for the application, right? Or when you join a summer program, that will give you some course credit. Those courses will help, okay? But otherwise, lots of the summer program out there that doesn't help you to get into the school at all, okay? So another thing is we have every year we have students or parents ask the same questions, right? Can we have some famous people write the recommendation letter for the kid, and will that help to get you into the top school? First of all, at the time when we apply for college, most schools will require at least one recommendation letter from the teacher and then one recommendation letter from the counselor, okay? So the VIP recommendation letter we talk about, right? Usually we talk about people outside of school, like you do a research, you have a research coach, or you have an internship, you have a job, you ask the manager, or you have volunteer work, you have the supervisor to write the letter of recommendation, okay? So those are we call optional recommendation letters. Not all school will accept optional recommendation letter, okay? Actually, less than half of the school, they will accept optional recommendation letter. But talking about that, okay, so if you are in 11th grade already, okay, so make sure you have a very good connection with one of your science or math teacher, and then another one your humanity teacher, like English to study. Because usually when we ask for recommendation letter, we ask for two teachers, right? One from the humanity teacher, another one from science and math teacher. So, and other misconception of FAFSA, we have people keep asking, so because when you fill out the application, right, all the school will ask you, are you applying for FAFSA? And some of our students afraid that applying for FAFSA, which is financial aid, will affect the chance to get into the school. This question is depends. Okay, this question is depends. Out of like 1,000, more than 1,000 schools out there, a little bit more than 100 of them is called need bright, which means your financial situation will not affect your chance of getting into the school. Okay, all Ivy schools are like that. And then so need bright, that is like they don't care about your if you're applying for financial aid or not. Okay, and then another one is called need aware, which means they will consider your financial situation. So applying for FAFSA may affect your chance to get into the school, but that effect is very very small. Okay. So do we have any questions so far? Okay, so what is college looking for, right? So you may have heard this term before, holistic admission. Most of the school in the US is holistic admission, different from like college applications in China. Right? In China, we only look at one exam, like Gaokao, that's it. But in the US, we look at all different stuff, right? So if you have, okay, let me show you a chart. So this is a chart we summarize based on our experience, okay? So the admission guide. So holistic admission, that means the school will look at all different factors, right? Your academic side, your activity, and then essay and recommendation letters, right? So let's talk about academic first. So 50% of the admission actually like about your academic, okay? So that's why we say all A or 1600 SAT would not get you into Ivy school, okay? And but if you don't have an all A or you don't have a really good SAT score, then your chance to get into the school is going to be smaller, okay? Like there is if you Google like the average GPA to go to the Ivy school, you will see that especially for Asian, like the unweighted GPA is usually is at least like 3.9. Okay, the weighted GPA sometimes is like 5 point, at least 5 or something sometimes. So a good GPA is like the minimum for you to apply for the good schools. Okay, and we're talking about GPA. That means we're talking about like your grade from 9th grade. Okay, that's why we say college planning, it doesn't start from 11 or 12 grade, it starts from 9th grade, because all your grade will go to the GPA, right? 9th grade, 10th grade, 11. So the question is, does 12th grade count? Okay, we talk about GPA. The answer is depends. Okay, so but if you apply for ED, if you're in 12th grade already, you should know what ED and EA mean, right? Early decision and early admission. Early action, the deadline is November 1st usually. If you're applying for ED or EA, then your 12th grade grade doesn't affect the admission result. But if you're applying for regular admission, the deadline is usually first week of January. Then you need to submit the mid-year report, and then the mid-year report is from September to December. That means that your grade in 12th grade will also affect the admission result. Okay. So the next one is the AP courses, right? Or the how rigorous your courses is. So but it doesn't mean you have to have like lots of AP lab. You don't have to be overwhelming about like having all your courses to be AP, or you need to worry about like what happens if my school don't offer AP, right? So we're talking about you for the AP courses. Usually when you're applying at the time when you apply for school, if you have like around 8 AP classes or at least 6, then that would be pretty good. For Ivy school, probably you want to have like 8 AP. Okay, and so we have so a very common question we ask is, what happens if my schedule doesn't fit, or what happens if my school don't offer the AP I want to take? Then you can consider taking start the AP courses by yourself and take the AP exam like in May. You can register for the AP exam without taking the AP course, right? And then and other question we have we've been asked a lot about AP courses is since AP will give you extra points, right? When they calculate the weighted GPA, or on the courses they give you extra points when they calculate the GPA. So if the AP course is too difficult or the honor class is too difficult, should I only take the regular class and have a 4.0 GPA? Right? What do you guys think? Should a student take like less challenging courses and have a 4.0 GPA, or should the student take like more challenging class, like more AP, more honor classes, and but the GPA may not be too high? What do you guys think?
I think the second. I think it's the latter.
So I have some of you type the answer, like send private chat to me already. Yes, the answer is you definitely want to take AP courses, more AP courses. Okay, but you want to take the one that you feel interested in. Okay, first of all, when school look for a student, right? They talking about like the matching, right? The student need to match the school, and the school want to also match to the student's interest, right? So when the school look at the student and see, like, for example, a student goes to, let's say, go to Broken Tap, and Broken Tap lots of AP courses, right? So if you in a good school, you have lots of resource AP courses, you don't take any of them, right? You have the resource, but when you use it. So why would school consider to admit you? Because we have, why you want to come to our school? Because of the resources we have, right? If we see you're not using any resource at the high school you are in, then we assume you will not use the resource we have in college. Okay. But talking about that, what happens if the AP course is too difficult, okay, or the honor class are too difficult? That's why you want to use your summer very wisely. Okay, we always encourage students to pre-learn the stuff, like especially for AP courses, over the summer. You at least like learn a quarter of them. So if you learn the subject in pre-learn the subjects over the summer, then when a new semester begins, everything will be a lot easier and smooth. Okay, and if you're a parent here, we also suggest if you probably want to check in your kids report card more often. Okay, you don't want to wait until like when the report come out at the end of the marking period and then see the kid is failing or doing not good in the class. All right, SAT and ACT, I'll talk about that when we get to the standardized testing section. Okay, class rank. Most school doesn't really care about class rank anymore, because less and less school they will rank the student. Usually they will only say like the top 10% or top 5%. But they will rank like the number 1 and number 2, because they need to make the speech on the day of graduation, like valedictorian and salutatorian. Right, activity, right, 20%. Activities is very important. Okay, as I said before, you need to be able to fill out like 10 activity at the time you apply for college, and this activity including like club activity, volunteering, you do any research, okay, or actually when you play sport, when you play musical instrument, they also count as like the activity section, right? So for this couple years, because of COVID, more school actually will encourage students to write down their family contribution. Actually, Harvard have a essay they talk about like how they encourage students to do more family contribution actually, right? So for club, you don't have to be in like lots of club. As I said before, in 9th grade, probably you can consider to join more club and figure out your interest. But you want to cut it down in 10th grade and cut down a little bit more in 11th. Right, in 11th grade, probably keeping like 2 to 3 clubs is good enough. All right, in 9th grade, you can participate in like 5, 6 clubs. That's okay. Now, for why do you want to have lots of activity, right? Because at the time you apply for school, when you write the essay, that is for the top school. essay actually is one of the most important factor. Okay, like when you look at the report card for people applying for the Ivy school, they're all identical technically. Okay, like GPA is always 4.0, 3.9, like 8 to 10 AP courses, like very good score in SAT. Right, the academic side basically identical. Right, for the even for the club list is also very similar. Okay, volunteering also similar. So the one that can distinguish you as student, right, is the essay. Let me show you another chart here. Right, so this ranking is from 2022. There's an updated ranking come out a month ago. The top 36 schools in the US by the US News, right? So I hope you guys can see. Maybe L is not too small. So 4 is the most important when school look at the application, right? So the rigors of high school record, though, is the most important factor for both of school, which is do you take like challenging courses, okay? And then class rank, not important. And then GPA, you see lots of them like rank 4. And then if you look down the list, right, you see this kind of character and personality, right? So most of school they put 4, which means most they very important when they look at the application. And how can you show like your character and personality? Lots of time you need to show it in your activity. Lots of time you need to show it in your essay and also in the letter of recommendation. Okay, that's why we say the essay is important, because this is the only way that you can show your the admission officer your character, right? We say that. And after the essay, we have the main essay, right? We call it the personal statement. But if you think there's only one essay you need to write about for the application, then you're totally wrong. Okay. For each school, basically for the top 50 school, most of them they have their supplementary essay, right? If you're a senior already, then you should have your main essay finished. You should have your personal statement finished already. You should work on your supplementary essay. Usually one school have like 1 to 2 essay. Some school have like 4 to 5. If you're applying for public school, right? If you're applying for Penn State, you're applying for the for CUNY, even for SUNY, for Stony Brook, right? They have honor program. If you're applying for honor program, then more essay. We have a student this year applying for the honor program in Penn State University. You need to write 10 essay, okay? And not 10 short essay. Each essay is like 300 to 600 words, okay? So you need to have your probably you want for, if you're not senior and you are a junior right now, then you should start the essay in summer, okay? Keep this in your mind. And then there's also a new essay starting from COVID. It's like talk about how COVID affect you. So first of all, for essay like this, right, for senior, you want to put down something here, okay? But this is one way you can tell people, okay? But you don't want to tell like how badly COVID affect you. You want to write about like how you overcome. Like for example, like remote learning. Nobody like remote learning, I know. And then you should talk about like how can you overcome like the difficulties people have in remote learning, right? You cannot communicate with your teachers enough. You don't don't see people face to face, that may affect you emotionally. You can talk about how can you overcome these difficulties or challenge. Okay, so usually I know lots of people, their logic is like they want to, even in their personal essay, we see this a lot. You can talk about like how like all the trends you have, okay, or sometimes even you can talk about how miserable your life is, right? But at the end, okay, you have to flip it, okay, 180 degree. I would say that you need to, at the end, you need to talk about the positive, okay? How can you learn it from your lesson, right? How do you learn it from your challenge? How do you overcome it? Okay, so at the end, you should only talk about positive stuff at the end of your essay, right? No matter what. And then recommendation letter, that is 8%. As I said before, counselor, 2 teachers. Oh, for recommendation letter, right? As I mentioned, you can ask for more than 2 teachers to write the letter of recommendation, okay? Because most of the school, they use the platform called Common App, right? Even if you ask 4 teachers to write the letter of recommendation, at the time you submit, you can choose which teacher's recommendation you want to submit, okay? And of course, you only want to talk to the teacher you have a good relationship, right? You need to make sure the teacher is willing to write you a very personalized letter of recommendation. You don't want to have a teacher, they just have a template to change the name. Okay, you don't want to see those kind of recommendation. Right. Some school have alumni interview, mostly like the top 30 schools. But if you don't receive the alumni interview, don't worry. Okay, if you're senior. Last year we have a student who basically a couple students applying for Yale last year. We have 2 of them admitted to Yale, and these 2 students, they didn't get the interview. They didn't receive any interview, right? And then we have another student who applied for Yale. He got the interview. He didn't get in actually. So interview technically the interview would not of like being able to get the interview or not doesn't really, it's not a big deal. Okay, if you don't get the interview changed, that's okay. But okay, talking about that, for some school, like if you're applying for Georgetown, right, in the DC, they have a deadline to, if you want to schedule an interview, they have a deadline for it. Okay, so you guys need to watch out for all the application details. So for Georgetown, I think the deadline for request an interview is November. Okay, legacy and donation, right? If your parents went to Ivy school, so it will help you a little bit. Okay. Okay, I think we shared this chart before, right? So take a look at the chart, right? And then you see the acceptance rate actually is little bit lower than this, okay, because this including the early decision. Early decision, the chance is higher because when you admit, you have to go, right? So if you look at the regular decision, the chance is much lower. Okay, like for MIT, for Harvard, the acceptance rate is like less than 3% right now. Okay, but it doesn't mean, okay, it's not reachable, right? It doesn't mean it's not reachable. So that's the time you need to have a very a good planning starting from freshman year. Okay, I've been talking about like, how do you find your academic passion or your academic interest, right? So that's what the school is look at. Okay. Oh, another question we have been asked a lot is, if I want to go to Cornell, if I want to go to a very good school, can I apply for a major that is less competitive, right? For example, like women's study or Southeast Asian study, right? But I want to study computer science, for example. Can we do that, right? So when school look at your application, when school look at like the major you want to apply for, they will also look at your activity. Okay. So when we say the school want to see you enjoy doing something. Okay. If you say you want to applying for women's study, okay, you want to raise women's right, raise the voice of women, then yes, you can. But do you have enough like extracurricular activity to support you doing that? Okay. So the school really want to see your passion, right? What you enjoy doing. Okay. So if all your activity, if you have a little bit of everything, right? You have to have something to make you stand out. Okay. For in the activity. So we say that's why we say for all the club, all the activities at the beginning, right? You can have like a little bit more. You can join a little bit more clubs, but 10th grade, 11th grade, you need to cut down some. Okay. You want to only focus on the one that really you enjoy doing, right? You want to spend lots of time on doing that, and it's somehow related to the major you're applying for, right? That's the suggestion. So talking about how to refine the academic passion, right? So I mentioned before, you can join different club, okay? And then lots of time we have students saying they don't know what major they're applying. So sometimes we don't know about what to apply because we don't really know about the career. Okay, so you want to, first of all, you want to do some eliminations, right? You eliminate the course that you don't like, right? I don't like history course at all, so I eliminate all the job have something to do with history, right? When I was in high school and college, right? And then you want to do a little more research about the career. Okay, so lots of I talked to a student last week about the major she want to pick for. She had been she want to be a teacher, right? She want to be a teacher because she helps kids in a learning center, and she thinks she like teaching. Okay, but sometimes this type of it's kind of dangerous, right? You just want to choose a major because you from one of the volunteer what you do, you probably want to do a little bit more research about that. Okay, so I talked to the student because I am a teacher. So for teachers, not just about teaching, there are lots of things, right? Like behavior problems, you need to do lesson plannings, you need to try different PDs and all the different stuff, right? And we're talking about being a teacher, you can be a public school teacher, private school teachers, all different things. Probably even to know a little bit more, right? And when you decide you want to become something, you want to be a doctor, you want to be a teacher, okay, try to elaborate a little bit. Okay, you want to be a doctor, think about like why do you want to be a doctor? Okay, because this will help you to answer one of the most important questions the coach will ask you, like why you want to major in something, okay, or what you want to be, and then how are you going to contribute to the society? Okay, why? Because most of the school right now, they will emphasize on the student in the future can contribute back to the society. Okay, so when you say you want to be a doctor, right? Why do you want to be a doctor? Is there any certain group of people you want to help? Right? If you want to become a teacher, like is there any certain group of people you want to help about? Right? Okay, I think I need to speed up a little bit. It's 9:42 already. Wow. About coursework, right? So first of all, most of the school they have requirement for some certain courses. So as we said before, you want to have like maybe 6 to 8 AP courses, okay? But most of the AP courses, they like before you, for example, right, for this one, this is the course the class path we have for one of our student. Like top grade, if you want to take BC Congress BC, then he have to finish honor pre-Congress. If it's not in honor pre-Congress, then he cannot take BC. He can only take Congress AP, right? So 11th grade, he have to take honor pre-Congress, but which means he have to take like honor algebra 2 is be honor algebra 2 here, right? So for the same reason, in order to be honor algebra 2, then you have to take honor geometry, or you get an A in geometry, right? So if you're in 9th grade, I suggest you to list out all the courses you want to take, like for the next couple years. Right? So you know what are the prerequisites. Okay, so you won't be like at the time when you get to 11 or 12 grade, oh, I want to take this class, but I don't have the prerequisites. And especially for AP chemistry and AP biology, like those are one of the most popular AP courses. And if you're from Stuyvesant, I know that in order to take some AP courses, right, especially if you want to take like more than 2 AP courses, you have to maintain the GPA like 90 or 95 or something. Okay, so these are things you need to watch out. Right, so here's an example. When you choose a course, they always say like what the prerequisites in most of the school. Okay, so for testing, so for high school, if you're from New York, New York we have the regions, right? New York we have the regions, and some students think the region is not quite important. It's only for graduation requirements, right? But when school admits students, you guys are like all the students in the same school or even in the same county, they're in the same pool. Okay, which means they will compare you to the other students. They will compare you to the other students in the school, in the neighborhood, right? So if we don't do good, because region technically is one type of standardized testing. Okay, so if you don't do good on the region, actually it looked pretty bad actually. Okay, because the region technically is most of the region I would say is pretty easy, right? For example, like this is the the grading loop for algebra 2. Okay, to pass it, like 65, actually you only need 26 points. Okay, but to get 100, to get a high score, you need to get a 86. Like the total is 86. To get a 90, you need 74. Okay, so to pass a region is not enough. Okay, for all your region, you want to keep it at least a 90. Okay, if you are from New York. Okay, and I'm not sure if you guys know about that. If all your region above 90, and then at the time when you graduate, your diploma is called Advanced Region Diploma with Honor. Okay, and if your GPA, the average of your region is less than 90, it's just called Advanced Region Diploma. There is a difference. Okay. So I can talk about this already. AP courses with AP exams. You don't have to take the course in order to take the AP exam. If your school don't offer the course, or you have scheduled conflict, you cannot take a certain course, you can definitely study by yourself. Okay, there are lots of resources out there. Khan Academy, you can buy a book, right? But you do need to spend some time on it. Okay. And then at the time when you finish an AP exam, because the school will look at like the courses and the AP exam is separate technically. Okay, and we always suggest students to take the AP exam. The reason is if you get a 5, right? Usually you can get you can convert that to some course credit. So you may wonder why some course student they can finish their degree in 3 years, because they have like 10 or even like 15 AP courses from high school. Okay, so that is equivalent to 1 year of college already, because most of the AP courses, if you get a 5, you're able to convert to some course credit, right? This is the AP course conversion chart for Yale, right? If you get a 5 in AP Congress, right, it's equivalent to you take like math 115. So you don't need to take this math course when you go to school. It saves money and also save time. And if your school offer AP seminar, AP research, these two courses are quite challenging based on my experience. Most students, they suffer a lot in AP seminar, AP research because of work. But if you take like these 2 courses and then 4 other AP exams, right, you can get a diploma or a certificate. It's called the AP capstone diploma. It actually look pretty good on your application. Right, so talking about AP courses, there are lots of different AP courses. And there's some courses here are pretty easy. You don't really have to take the course to get a 4, get a 5 to take exam, right? Human geography, psychology. If you learn Python, Java in middle school already, then computer science principle is not that difficult either. Okay, standardized testing. If you're in 10 and 11th grade, then you should be registered for the PSAT. All right, and then ACT and SAT. So if you're in New York, most of the school will register their junior to take the SAT at school in April or March. Okay, but technically you can also register SAT by yourself, and you don't have to wait until the 11th grade or even 12th grade to take the SAT or ACT. Some really competitive summer program at the time you apply, they also ask for SAT or ACT, right? And I would assume most of the school will not let you take like a couple AP courses until 11th grade. So 11th grade, probably you want to spend some time like studying for the AP exams. Okay, you we usually suggest students like get their best score of SAT before the Christmas of 11th grade. Okay, because after the Christmas 11th grade, you start to you begin like busy on studying for the AP exams and all the stuff. And for SAT, like reading, writing, those are not quite difficult, right? You need to you don't, but you do need to spend some time studying for it. And then for the math part, it only covers part of algebra 2, and most students finish algebra 2 in 10th grade already. So after you can definitely can begin studying for the SAT in the summer of 10th grade, okay, and get it done by December of 11th grade. And then for SAT and ACT, another question we have been asked a lot is, should students study for both, right? Take the SAT and then take the ACT. Please do not do that, right? So that, and actually if you do that, unless you get like a perfect score for both, or don't submit both, okay? The school don't want to see people like waste time on studying, preparing for both. Just pick one, okay? And somehow in New York, like we favor the SAT a lot. If you're from the central park, then probably prefer like ACT. And then if you wonder what's the big difference between SAT and ACT, I have a slide about that. Right? The big difference between ACT and ACT, oh, this one is Chinese, or have English too. Yeah. For SAT, 4 parts, right? Reading, writing, which is grammar, and then math. Like math, 2 parts, calculator and no calculator. So math make up like 50% of your final grade for the SAT. But for the ACT, math is only 25%, because another 25% is about science. Okay, but otherwise the reading part is very similar, the writing part is also similar. Okay, so talking about that, right? The science part in the ACT, it technically tests you all subject of science, right? A bit of everything. Okay, so for people who want to become a doctor, right, or want to major in biology, chemistry, we actually will suggest you to take the ACT instead of the SAT. Okay, because it can show you like you good at the subject of science, right? And then and even for the math part, I've been coaching SAT for more than 10 years and also teach ACT. I personally think it's harder to get a 36 in ACT math than like a 800 from the SAT AT math, because SAT math it technically tests you all the stuff from 6th grade to algebra 2, even a little bit of the pre-calculus. And then it tests you about like the law of science, law of cosine, right, all the stuff. But in the SAT, it only tests you like a small part of algebra 2. Okay, so for the ACT, the math part it covers more topic. But I think the only pro for the SAT is like is problem we have more time. All right, so I think happy here. The average time for SAT math is 83 seconds, but for the ACT math, each problem you can have only like 60 seconds. Okay, so and then for the PSAT, so if you take PSAT, if you're in 11th grade already, right, spend some time studying for the PSAT, you have 2 weeks, because if you got like the top 1% of the state, will qualify you for the National Merit Scholarship. It gives you the 250 for money for scholarship. It's not a lot, but if you become a finalist, you receive the scholarship. It's actually a very good honor to have. Okay. Oh, talking about honor. At the time it's a private school, you can put in 10 honor or 2 award received in high school. Okay, volunteering extracurricular, almost 10. So first of all, let me cite this from the credit assessment in college education from Harvard University, right? It's called Turning the Tide. So when you plan for volunteer work, okay. So first of all, I bet most of you will have some volunteer experience, right? You work in the hospital, you work in learning center, right? Those are good, okay. But it's too common for the college admission office, okay. It's too common, okay. So but sometimes you don't know where you can find some like special or outstanding volunteering, okay. So keep a couple of things in your mind, okay. First of all, right, the volunteer work, see how it must be meaningful, okay. You have to somehow you have to show you're serving the community, right, first of all, and you have to be consistent, okay. You don't want to have a volunteer only maybe like once a while, right? Only in one summer. Okay, if you do some volunteer work in summer, try to do it like in at least like 9th grade summer, 10th grade summer, in 11th grade summer. Okay, be consistent. Okay, and after you finish the volunteer work, make sure you have you have some reflection for yourself, right? Why you want to do this and what you want to learn from that. Okay, I'm not saying like working in one hospital is not good. Okay, we last year we have a student who the student who get admitted to Yale. He volunteered in hospital. Okay, so the big difference between he's volunteering in hospital and then other students. Okay, he have a very good he come back, right, and he reflect a lot. Okay, so he just she I'm sorry she so this is her story, right? She has a very close friend that have like depression, right? Depressions. So she volunteering in a children's hospital actually. Okay, so she read books to children, and then she realized that, right, reading books to children that can help them to become less stressful about like, staying in the hospital. Okay, so he make like a connection between like his experience about like uh knowing people with depressions, and then how like the volunteer will give him a chance to help people become less stressful, and then help him to that will inspire him to become like to want to study neuroscience. Okay, which is uh neuroscience and psychology, they're like a crossover major right now. Okay, and neuroscience actually one of the hardest major. So when you think about volunteering, okay, think about like what can you get from it? Okay, how can it inspire you to do more? Okay, think about that. And then another example is we have a student a couple years ago. He volunteered in a local clinic in A Avenue. Uh, and then he realized that lots of old Asian female have diabetes, right? And then he did a research about that, and then it definitely have something to do with our of diet, right? We eat lots of rice and starch. Okay, he from there he have a very good research paper about like how Asians should change the how people can change their diet, and then and about diabetes. Okay, so you want to have and he make couple webinars about like how teach how people can eat healthy, okay, and reduce the chance of having diabetes, like type 2 diabetes. Okay, so you want to have some reflection about that one table you do. Okay, yes, I think this also like talk about the second point, right? You want to have like solve a community problems. Okay, the challenge doesn't need to be big. Okay, and it doesn't even have to be something like new. Okay, like the question the example I just gave to you, like diabetes, right? It's like an old problem, have been there. Okay, the thing is and don't afraid to use the same idea. Okay, because trust me, most of the thing you think is new actually nothing surprise for the admission officer. Okay, all right, number three. Okay, the key for number three is they have to be diversity. All right, so here and it's not just focused on doing for. Before we have people that focus on they 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 want to raise money, or they want to volunteer for people who is in need, right? But think about like, how can you doing this volunteer work with someone like from the a more diverse group. Okay, and here diversity doesn't only means like race, right? Doesn't mean you have to work with like doesn't limit it to the Hispanic group, like the American group, right? It also include like low income family, right? So you need to see how you define diversity yourself, right? And then number four, you need to be thankful, all right? And you need to show a sense of responsibility for the future. As I mentioned before, most school they will ask for like after you learn it, after you get a degree, right? How can you return it back to the society? Okay, even in MIT, they always ask for the alumni interview. Like usually they I start at the time they ask like after you get a degree, like what you can do with it. Okay, so think about that. wait, what time is it? This meeting we scheduled to end at 10. It's 10 already. So I'm gonna stop here. All right. There are a lot more to share. Maybe I have another webinar about that. I'm going to open the Q&A right now. Oh, it's 10. If you have any questions, you can feel free to type it in chat. And let me see. What if I have about 5 APs and you take 3 to more in senior year? So they will give me any AP in my 9 to 10 grade. So I'm a little behind. What with that? Okay. Most of the school actually they don't allow students to take like AP courses in 9th grade, right? 10th grade probably can take like 1 or 2. At the time, if I mean apply for school, you have like around like at least 6, right? 6 to 8 AP, then that will be good. Okay. And as I said before, if your school don't even sometimes don't allow you to take the AP course, how are we going to stop it, right? You study for the you can study for the AP exam yourself. Okay. And I didn't mention for the in the essay part, right? In the course application, like no matter you use Common App, you use Collaboration or QuizBridge, right? There's always a session talking about like additional information part. Okay. If you come from a school, right, allow you to take AP in 9th grade, but you cannot do it in 9th grade, all right? So you are like behind your peers at the same school. Probably you want to explain that in the additional information part when you're applying for school. I'm interested in graphic design. Is there any good college in MSc for design? So graphic design, first of all, okay, so I just talked to a student about this this afternoon, right? She's applying for graphic design and she spent lots of time on studying for the SAT. Okay, and she's senior already. She thinks that she want to have like a higher score in the SAT. So most of the art school, okay, even in some good school and for the art program, they don't look at SAT or ACT. Okay, they will look at portfolio. Right. So if you're applying for art school, okay, or the art departments in the school, you need to make sure you spend time to prepare for the art portfolio. Okay, so different school they have different requirement for the art portfolio, and also in the portfolio usually you have something called the artist statement. You should also spend some time for that. Okay, but don't as I know, most of school they don't art school they don't look at SAT ACT. Okay. And some great art school for in MIC, right? One, I'm not sure if you guys know that one of the best art school in the world is in Brooklyn, right? Pearson, right? Pearson School of Art and Design. And then also in Manhattan, we have the New School that is also for art and design. If you want to go to CUNY, Hunter have a pretty good art program because undergrad is like not as good as the graduate level. The graduate program for the art department in Hunter is actually one of the best program in the country too. So what happened when a teacher who could write good recommendation letter for you are from a non-core subject? So the thing is, most college they will ask the recommendation letter from the core subject teacher only. Okay, you're talking about like your science teacher, your math, and your English teacher. Okay, you can use that teacher as an additional. If the school accept the additional or optional letter recommendation, then you can use that. Yep, the school's very strict about that. So if you are senior, you're doing early action, the school will ask you to self-report the course you are taking, but they don't see the grade. Okay. But at the time, so if you're applying for ED, the school you only see the course you're taking, but they cannot see any grade. Okay. But at the time when let's say you're applying for a school, right, and for ED or EA accept you, okay, and then but no matter what, you have to submit your final transcript, right? if they see in 9th to 11th grade, you have a very good like GPA, right, or A, and all of a sudden in 12th grade, you have like or C and D, okay, they may take back the offer, okay, it could happen. So you don't want to, so I know senior, you're busy, but try to at least like maintain a good score, okay. So how can we show personality to college? So you cannot really write about your personalities, right? So at the time you apply for school, the only way to show your personality is one is from where did it go? Right, one is from the activity you do. Okay, but even when you list the activity in the application, you can only do 50 characters, which means it's around like 15 to 20 words. You can only describe your duty, your responsibility in the activity. So that's why when you want to show a good personality, okay, you want to show it through essay, okay, and also the letter of recommendation. So that's why we say even though essay is only 8%, but for good school, okay, this is actually the most important factor will affect if you get in or not, the essay. So if you want to show so sometimes when we talk about essay, the topic you write about is the most important, okay. It's more important than like you have like a good grammar, like structure is important, but the topic is actually the most important. And then also the legal limitation. Yes, if you have filed recommendation letter from the teacher in Common App, at the time you submit, okay, so for senior, right, for each school, when you submit in Common App, there are two parts, okay? You submit the Common App part, okay? You hit submit one time, all right, you submit the Common App, and then you go to the school, you're going to submit the school. So technically, for each school, you have to submit 2 times, one in the Common App. Okay, in the Common App session, you submit 1 time, and then you go to school, you submit the second time. And then when you submit the school part, you can choose which recommendation you want to use. So for FAFSA, right? Okay. Oh, this is important. I forgot to mention. For the FAFSA application, open like today, November 1st. Okay. And if you're applying for ED or EA, most school will require you to submit your FAFSA application by November 1st, like the time you submit the EA or ED application. Some school may allow like another 15 days or month, but most school I know they require them to submit their FAFSA before at the time they submit their application. Okay, but theoretically there's no deadline for FAFSA because even in May or June you can still apply for FAFSA, but they may affect like the financial package the school will give it to you if you don't submit FAFSA on time. So can you submit the common essay? When you submit the essay for one, okay, for example, right, you're applying for NYU and then you want to apply for Columbia, right? So after you submit the application for NYU, then you can go back to the Common App and change the essay completely. And then you submit it again for Columbia. As I said before, each school you have to submit twice, the Common App part and then the school part. And how many AP classes do you recommend each year and when is the best time to apply? Oh, the professor already. So for how many APs should you take each year? It really depends on your school. Like most school, they have the requirement, right? Most of the school I know, you cannot take any AP courses in 9th grade. In 10th grade, you can take 1 or 2, and then you can take like more in 11th grade. Like but usually in 10th grade, you can take like AP US, AP World History, you can take AP Human Geography, right? And then usually they allow you to take APs in 11. So 11th grade probably like 4 AP, and then 12th grade you have another 4 or 5 AP. Then that'll be good. But make sure you don't overwhelming yourself. So what's the family contribution in the activity section? So it talks about, so for example, right, if you say that you have your family is very poor, right, and then you do lots of volunteer work outside, right? The school think about, if you saying your family is a financial challenge, then why don't this student try to have a part-time job, right, to support the family instead of like doing some volunteering, okay? And then because of COVID, lots of lots of lots of students need to take care of their family, right, and even their siblings. So those are the family contribution. But if you don't have any, then don't worry about it. Okay. So 10, 11. Any other questions? Yes, QuestBridge is only for low-income applicant. If you come from family of 4, if your family income, like in the tax return is more than 65,000, then you're not qualified for it. And it's very strict about the income. But talking about that, like QuestBridge, if your family is really from a low income family, okay, no matter true or not, because they only look at the tax return, but they also look at the bank statement, right? Your family's asset. Okay, if you qualify for it, okay, then definitely should try QuestBridge. They also, like if you are junior, they have a program for junior too. Like if you got accepted, they provide you a free summer course. Like you can apply for a summer program in one of the school they partner, the college they partner, and then they pay for the tuition for the whole summer program. Okay, any other questions? And if there's no other questions, then I am going to end the meeting here, right? Is there any specific topics you guys want us to talk about next time? I would say variety of the club. For the club activity, right? The school will more focus on the quality than the quantity. Okay, keep this in your mind. And then when you're doing clubs, make sure you be consistent is important. Okay, so focus on some club like you really enjoy doing, you enjoy joining, and then try to take some leader role. Okay, because they always ask like for this, what is the position in the club. You don't want to just say like regular member, right? So you want to take some leader role in the club, and then be consistent about the club that have something related to the major you're applying for. Okay, and once again, quality is more important. It's much more important than quantity. In MIC, so New York MIU, right? MIU is one of the best school for computer science. Honor Society, living the National Honor Society. National Honor Society is too common. Okay, so it's not about like being in the National Honor Society, I know lots of the National Honor Society, they don't really have any activities. Okay, if you're in the National Honor Society, so think about what the club can do. Okay, you don't just want to be a member, right? You sometimes when you lots of time, I would suggest my student, okay, when you pick a club, right, you either pick a club that is like that will participate in national competition and have a very good grade from that, right? Or you either join a club that is dying, okay? Because a club is dying, that's good. Then you can think about like different idea to make the club is active again, okay? So as I know, most of the school, the honor society or the national honor society, basically they don't do any activity, okay? So if you're in the national honor society, right, that means you have a very good grade, right? So think about how can you have the national honor society to do something for the school, okay? Doing some volunteering, do some mentoring, doing some shadowing, okay? Think about that. If you want to start new extracurricular activity in junior, that is totally fine. Okay, that's totally fine. Okay, I don't see any other. So it be a dream school or target school? It really you have to really define like what dream school means to you. Okay, you want to do some research and you want to see like uh you need to consider a couple things, right? You want to consider like does your GPA match, does your SAT match, right? And then for the major you're applying for, that's or the course you're applying for, the school you're applying for, that's all the activity match. Okay. And when you answer the why school essay, right? Why you want to apply for the school? Think about two ways, okay? The school want to match you and also want you to match the school, right? So you should talk about how you can match the school, how you can contribute to the school. Okay. You also want to talk about like what like how can the school help you, okay? Like what program they have for you, like what club activity they have for you, okay? You have to talk about match in mutual way. So I would say if your dream school, right, if your ED school, if like your GPA match, your SAT match, okay, I would say you can try the dream school. But if your dream school is like the GPA is, for example, right, if your GPA is only like 3.6 unrated, and then so you're applying for the Ivy school, unless you have some very good competition, right? Unless you have a very good essay or very strong data documentation, then probably the chance for you to get into the Ivy school with 3.6 GPA is very, very low, unless you have something very stand out. And if we also offer, oh, what type of QR code? Not the QR code. If we also offer like oh, that's it. If you're a senior, we offer like a free asset review. Okay, oh, this is in Chinese. Sorry about that. So you can send us your essay and your resume. Like we can evaluate your essay. Is this like a essay good enough for your target school? You can just scan the QR code here. We also offer like a 30 minutes one-on-one counseling. Okay, we can also answer some of the questions. So there is a QR code. Can I make it bigger? No, when you're thinking about career, right? Don't follow your heart is I would say you can follow your heart to try different things, okay? But when you think about careers, right? Think about long terms, okay? For example, right? I'll give you a very good example. When I'm at I when my master I study education, okay? So my class have like 32 students. like 5 years later, for those who still stay in the teaching position, only 5. Okay, it's like 5 out of 32, right? So because when you want to consider career, you need to do couple research. Okay, you think about the pay. Okay, the pay is important. All right, like how much money you make, how much holiday you have, like how many holiday you have. We also want to interview some people. Okay, the best way to get the first information is to talk about people in the career, right? And pro and con, you don't just interview people who love the job too much. Also think of like inside to see interview people who hate the job so much, right? Why they quit the job, right? You have to try to look at it in different ways. Okay. And if you want to look at like how much people make for a certain career, just go to pay.com, payscale.com. They have lots of the information there. What brought me into teaching? That is a really good question, right? So my teaching, I help lots of the immigrant students, right? That's the group I help a lot, right? Because I came here when I was like 17, 18, right? I came here when I was like kind of old. And then so my personal experience, right, inspired me to do something. Okay, you see the connection? So that's why when you plan your activity, right, you think about your 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 passion. Okay, so you want to make connection, right? How your experience will affect you to do something. Okay, so like, and that experience can be from a club activity, it can from your personal experience. Okay, it can from your volunteering. So it's all, but this is all about like you have to reflect about like what you have done. Okay, how can they inspire you? So that's what the school want to look for. Okay, you need to show them your passion at the end. First generation college kid, some school does. Okay, some school will get like extra points for that, but it's not like a big deal for most of the school. Some school don't even ask about that. And then they do have some major is very is competitive. Okay, if you are girls, and it give you huge advantage if you're applying for math major or computer science major. Okay, but it will give you a very huge disadvantage if you're applying for biology or chemistry, or you want to apply for pre-med, because lots of the Asian female student applying for medical related majors, right? It's very competitive. Now on the other side, for Asian boys, right, Asian male students, you're applying for computer science or engineering, those are quite competitive. If you are a male student, right, you're applying for teaching, right, then that will give you a huge advantage. Okay. Okay, so nice talking to you guys. So we will have another webinar like this soon. If any topic you guys want to talk about next time, this time quite in general actually.